Hello and welcome to what's going to be the second lot of new cards. This is obviously 20 odd cards, including tokens, so that obviously won't be the total amount that we get from this lot, but that's a rough idea on just how many tokens they produce every expansion. Either way though, starting us off here, we have Helio. I'm not really sure about where to go with Helio. Helio's Sacred Script is a 3-drop 2/1 gold for Shadowcraft. Fanfare Enhance 7, evolve this follower. Last word, give your leader the following effect. At the end of your opponent's turn, summon a zombie, then remove this effect. And then basically the last word also gains from Evo, you get the, at the end of your turn, summon a Lich, then remove this effect instead, which I think it's both actually, so that's interesting enough, but very solid card. The Enhanced 7 with free Evo is nice for Shadow, but overall, don't really know how I feel about that one. Then we have the Maiden of Clouds. It is a 3-drop 2/2 silver card for Portalcraft. Can't attack. Whenever Resonance becomes active, you deal 1 damage to all enemies. This could actually be quite fun. I can see this being a really good clear option for Portal, and could really be a lot of fun to mess around with. So also great art, but I'm looking forward to playing this card a little bit. Then we have Virtuous Aether. So Aether's cards, we're getting 1 for every craft by the looks of it. This is of course a 1-drop silver for Havencraft. It is a Natura card. It also put a Naturan tree into your hand. If it's the 5th turn or later, recover 1 play point. If it's the 10th turn or later, recover 5 defense to all allies. So you get those effects otherwise, which is great. So that could be really interesting, especially since we're getting 1 for each craft. Then we have Vengeful Possession is a 3-drop 3/3 bronze card for Shadowcraft. Fanfare, Enhance 6, gain a +2/+2 and Bane, then give Bane to an allied follower. Not a bad enhance, but overall a pretty average bronze. Definitely respectable though, for the most part. Then we have the Guilt Existential Blade. 8-drop 6/8. This is an okay looking stat line. It does have Excel 1, destroy an allied follower, draw 2 cards, so wow, that's actually really good as far as Excel effect goes. Getting the destroy an ally, draw 2 card effect for 1 is great. So I'm actually looking forward to this. This is basically the equivalent of the Soul Conversion, which is pretty decent considering this also has Rush on its body, so I don't mind this card at all. Then of course we have Regal Wildcat, a 7-drop 4/4 legendary commander card for Swordcraft. It does have Accelerate 4, summon a Steelclad Knight or Heavy Knight. Sorry, Steelclad Knight, a Heavy Knight, and a Knight. So 3 summons for Excel 4. Its base, though, for a 7 cost is Storm Fanfare. If at least 10 allied followers have been destroyed this match, give an allied follower +2/+2 in Storm. So this actually gives it some decent potential to really be a good Storm finisher, especially considering it has a 6/6 for Evo. For 7 cost total isn't bad at all. And having 10 destroyed allies by that point wouldn't be too hard fitting it into a deck. So this card I definitely see having some decent potential in Sword. Then we have Lunatic Aether. This is a 1-drop silver card for Bloodcraft. It is, of course, a Natura card as well. Put a Naturan Great Tree into your hand. It seems like they all basically do that. Then they also have the 5th and 10th turn effect. So 5th turn effect is recover 1 play point. 10th turn or later effect is deal 3 damage to the enemy leader and restore 3 defense to your leader, which is actually really average, I think, for Blood, honestly. Not too bad if it works well with other cards, but the only real good part is the 5th turn or later effect, because the 10th turn or later effect, you're really hoping you don't end up like that with most Bloodcraft decks. Then we have Airbound Barrage. This is just a straight up reprint of what they did before, returning allied follower and dealing 3 to an enemy, and of course both have to be targetable. That's actually not too bad to see. I'm not a big fan, of course, of Airbound Barrage and getting a reprint, but I mean, it's gotta be there for Forest, otherwise I don't think they'd have enough returns. Then we have Elven Pikeman, a 4-drop 2/3 silver card for Forestcraft. It does have Storm. Last word, deal 2 damage to the enemy leader, and it does Evo for 4/5, sorry, so 2/2 Evo normal. So this actually isn't bad because it does have Storm, and that makes it very good for aggressive Forest decks. We could actually see the rise of really aggro Forest decks coming, and I could get behind that. Then we have Geo Elementist. It is a 2-drop 2/2 bronze for Runecraft. It is a Natura as well. It is put a Naturian Great Tree into your hand if you have 20 or less cards in your deck. Gain +2/+2. So we're definitely seeing a nice amount of support for the new archetype, and of course enough Great Trees to make it worth your while. And that should be quite interesting. Also getting a +2/+2 on this if you have 20 or less cards. Not too impossible for most Rune decks, so definitely a respectable card on its own. Then we have Arcane Aether, so is the 1-drop Aether card for Runecraft. It is also, again, a Natura card with a Great Tree effect. 5th turn or later, of course, recover one play point. That seems to be common for all of them. And if it's the 10th turn or later, deal 2 damage to a random enemy follower and 2 damage to a random enemy leader. So, not random, sorry. Deal 2 damage to the enemy leader. So, basically, 2 damage to a follower, 2 damage to a leader. That's pretty decent, even at 10th turn or later. And for a cheap spell, which is actually going to be really good for Runecraft, because cheap spells are always really good for Runecraft, should be quite fun. Then we have a Greatsword Sister. It is a 5-drop bronze card. It's 3/5, and it is a Havencraft follower. It does have fanfare. Put a random amulet from your deck into your hand, and it does have Bane. Very mediocre, personally. The stat line is good. I actually don't mind that at all. The effect is okay, but I feel like we have better ones for that kind of effect, and having Bane on Evo is not that impressive to me. So, very, very mediocre bronze card. Then we have Priest of Excess. This is a 6-drop 5/5 Havencraft card. This one has Crystallize, or Crystallize. I'm going to go with Crystallize, either way. Countdown 1. Last word, banish a random enemy follower. I don't mind that too much. Last word, banish a random enemy follower as its base effect as well, and that carries over for Evo. So overall, not half bad. This could actually have some potential, especially being a countdown 1, going with City of Gold could be interesting. If you're just looking to get rid of one random follower, it actually could potentially replace something like Inquiry in Unlimited, but otherwise, it's not too bad. Then we have Riley Hydroshaman, a Runecraft Natura card. It is a 9-drop 1/6, so it does have Storm. It also has Invocation. At the start of your turn, if X is at least 7, put this card from your deck into play. When this follower comes into play, gain plus X. X equals the number of allied Natura and Great Trees you've played this match. So that's actually pretty good overall. Having the amount of Natura and Great Trees that you've played makes it a fairly easy effect to get off, provided that Rune has enough generation for Natura and Great Trees that you can get this card off fairly consistently, especially since it's only got to have that 7 to get it into play, and then you gain 7 on top of this, giving it a guaranteed 8/6 minimum for a Storm, and then being, of course, potentially higher if, say, one turn you're 6 trees on board, you end your turn, you go into the next turn, you play like 3, the turn after that you get this, and you get like the full 9 extra on top, giving it a 10 potential Storm. So it wouldn't be hard to see ways that you could actually increase this pretty exponentially, but overall I actually really like this card, and I think it could definitely have some potential with enough support around it. Then we have Necromantic Aether. This is a 1-drop silver card for Shadow, of course, Natura. Put it into a Great Tree into your hand. If it's a 5th turn or later, recover 1 play point. If it's the 10th turn or later, reanimate 4. Not very impressive, honestly. Most of these Aether cards are only really good because they're 1, a Natura card, 2, they put a Great Tree in your hand, and 3, they have the recover evolution point on the 5th turn or later. So they're cheap play point recovery, which is good. Otherwise, the 10th turn or later effects are usually pretty average and only good if you're going for a long gameplay style. Then we have a Dragon Chef. It is a 3-drop 3/3 bronze card for Dragoncraft. It does have fanfare, restore 1 defense to your leader. If an allied amulet is in play, restore 3 defense instead. Very easy to do even for Dragoncraft typically, especially with the Natura and Great Trees coming in. So I definitely see it supporting that. Not sure if this will see a lot of play, but it's definitely an above average card for a bronze. Even at a 3/3 stat line, it's pretty decent for a healing card. Then we have a Dragonewt Needler. It is a Dragoncraft card again, of course. It is a 5-drop 4/5 bronze, and it does have fanfare. Select an enemy follower and deal 3 damage to it. If it is already damaged. If it has not been damaged, deal 1 damage to it instead. Don't know if I'm a big fan of this card. Seems pretty average, especially since it has to be an enemy follower. But overall, not a bad stat line for a 5-drop. Pretty okay effect. Definitely worthy of being a bronze. Then we have Sweet Tooth Sleuth. So this is a 2-drop 1/3 bronze card. A really good stat line for a 2-drop, that's for sure. It does have fanfare. Put an investigation into your hand. I believe investigation is one of the basic spells. Not a crazy good card, but good stat line, reasonable effect, and cheap as a bronze. So overall, I give that a decent rating. Then we have Traveler's Respite. Is a 2-drop bronze card, a neutral Natura card as well. Restore 2 defense to your leader, put an Natura and Great Tree in your hand, and change its cost to 0. So again, another neutral card that does support the Natura and Great Tree, which is perfect for generation and should support pretty much every archetype. Then we have Lubelle Necrofamily. Not really sure how I want to say that. It is a 5-drop 3/5 legendary for Shadowcraft. It is that Natura legendary, so that's actually pretty decent. Fanfare, put a Natura Great Tree into your hand, summon a Necrofauna. Whenever an allied Natura Great Tree is destroyed, summon a Necrofauna. And of course, it carries that effect over into the Evolve. Then we have Necrofauna, which is actually a 3-drop 2/3 follower. It does have Rush and Last Word. Randomly activate one of the following. Put a Natura Great Tree in your hand. Give +1 to a random allied follower, or deal 1 damage to a random enemy follower. Overall, the randomness of this card, it makes it pretty average, but the overall effect altogether, especially the Great Tree generation, really good. I actually really am a fan of this legendary for Shadow, and if Shadow gets some other good support cards, this could be an insane archetype for that craft for sure. And we have Mirror Image, a 2-drop spell card, bronze for well, I'm mixing up my S's now. Swordcraft, of course. Choose an allied follower in play and summon a copy of it. Give it a rush and banish it at the start of your turn. Of your next turn, sorry. So giving an allied follower in play and summon a copy of it. So, using this with Leod, that you've already boosted up. Although, no, because that'll only give it rush, won't it? So you need a way to give it storm. So maybe using this on a Stormfall would be better. That makes me think a little bit. Although, using it on Leod, it does banish itself the next turn. Yeah, so it doesn't make it great since the start of the next turn. So you probably wouldn't use it in Leod deck. You'd use it with things like Arthur, potentially good other big Storm cards. The new Storm card for Sword potentially could use this card to its advantage. Although I could definitely see it working just to really pump out some decently buffed Swordcraft Storm. So, interesting. I can't wait to see what kind of things people can come up with to use this with. Then we have Featherfolk Punisher. It is a true drop of 2/2 Havencraft Natura card. Whenever an allied amulet comes into play, deal 1 damage to the enemy leader. Whenever an allied Natura Great Tree comes into play, deal 1 damage to a random enemy follower. So, whenever an allied amulet comes into play, deal 1 damage to enemy leader. Whenever an allied Natura Great Tree comes into play, deal 1 damage to the random enemy follower. I'm guessing the tree, since it's also an amulet, will give you both effects, which means you're generating 1 ping to face, 1 ping to a follower a lot of the time if you're putting this in a Natura deck. If you're not, you're just going to be using an Amulet Haven deck. You're still generating that damage to leader, which is fairly decent and opens up more potential for Amulet Haven in rotation, which could be cool. And I think, yep, that rounds out all the cards that we've looked at so far. So hopefully you guys did enjoy this. It's a lot of fun to take a look at. But until next time, guys, see ya.